There they were, seeking to amuse the packed rows of onlookers at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on Thursday, gambling along amid the bobbing Hello Kitty and the elf-on-the-shelf balloons, the preening majorettes, the blaring bands. They were simply a married couple blending innocuously into the merry procession, two of some 900 clowns more likely to be forgotten than remembered once it all ended. They were clowns for a morning, nothing more. They wore matching outfits, snow-white suits decorated with blue trim and red stars, along with red and white striped sleeves and socks, white gloves and face paint. The parade had barely begun. In its lengthy tangle, Robert and Irene Blazetti had reached the Avenue of the Americas and 39th Street. They were twisting balloon animals into shape for the outreaching children. And then something happened that no one who witnessed it would forget. Mr. Blazetti crumpled to the ground, flat on his back. His alarmed wife bent over him and frantically administered CPR. Someone else pulled her back and took over. It was too late. An ambulance transported Mr. Blazetti, who was 67, to Roosevelt Hospital, where he was pronounced dead, apparently of a heart attack. The death of a clown was the second fatality connected to the parade. Before the parade even started, a civilian police department worker assigned to parade duty also apparently suffered a heart attack. The worker, Charles Sutton, 58, a tow truck driver who was married and lived on Staten Island, was towing a car parked illegally on 58th Street when he collapsed. Mr. Blazetti was not a professional clown. He lived in Yonkers, where he worked for a therapist and a psychiatrist. But the parade held magnified importance for him and his wife, as coupled a couple as one could imagine. They had no children, but began volunteering for the parade at least 6 years ago, starting out as balloon handlers, converting later to clowns. It did not matter to them that you had to report at 5 in the morning. They grew up in Yonkers, meeting when she was 15 and he was 20, and they had been married for nearly 42 years. Their wedding anniversary was coming up on December 5th. For more than 30 years, Mr. Blazetti worked as the office manager and research assistant for Dr. Dawson, a therapist who practices a form of treatment involving mental imagery and has written many books. Mr. Blazetti was also the office manager for Dr. Dawson's wife, Dr. Anna Dolan, a psychiatrist. Dr. Dawson had a stroke 2 years ago, and both he and his wife considered themselves semi-retired. They work out of their home, a few blocks from where the Blazettis live. They were like peas in a pod, Dr. Dolan said of the Blazettis. They did everything together. She said they had come over on Wednesday evening. They were telling us about being in the parade, which they loved, said Ossie Austin, 43, Dr. Dawson and Dr. Dolan's son and a designer of amplifiers and guitars. It brought them a lot of pleasure. Mr. Austin summed up Mr. Blazetti as the quintessential, jolly, robust New Yorker. Ms. Blazetti, 62, was grieving and did not want to talk about her husband's death. She is semi-retired and helped her husband with his research work. Luz Montez, the museum consultant who lives across the street from the Blazettis, said that on warm days the couple would settle into deck chairs bearing small American flags atop their garage. They would sit there and look at the world, she said. Another neighbor, Tatiana Hernandez, 23, said that they liked to garden and that Miss Hernandez's father used to swap fish he caught for tomatoes from the Blazetti garden. Mr. Blazetti was an amateur photographer and played the guitar. He and his wife liked to visit Arthur Avenue in the Bronx, lined with Italian shops and restaurants. This past June, they saw fit to sign an online petition advocating that Neil Sedaka be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In explaining his firm support, Mr. Blazetti praised Mr. Sedaka as an American icon and noted that he was going to see him in concert in July. "What is wrong with those people?" he wrote. "Let him in.